Hi there guys, I'm Duncan at the Vinoteca.
And I'm Claire.
Claire is one of our subscription customers and she's also on Instagram as Hitchin Foodie. Her recipes look fantastic, so we've invited her to come in and cook one for us today. So Claire, why don't you start off by telling us what dish we're going to be cooking today?
Yeah, so today we're going to be cooking spaghetti and meatballs, but with a twist. So everyone loves spaghetti and meatballs, but I think that adding a little Middle Eastern twist to it just adds a little something extra if you want something a bit different, but it's still quite easy to make.
Nice. So what we've got here, you've nicely diced up your onions.
Chopped onions.
You're going to make the meatballs now, so just please crack on and I'll ask some questions whilst doing it if that's okay.
No problem. Pop the onions in.
So that's one onion you've got for the making of the meatballs, so that's right?
Finely diced. And then I will pop in about 300 grams of lamb mince.
Cool. And then as you said, the exciting thing here is we've gone for a little bit of a kind of different use of herbs and spices here.
Yes.
So can you just walk us through what ones we've got?
Yeah, so we have ground cumin, sumac, and Aleppo chilies, which are kind of Middle Eastern, slightly lighter flavour chili, like pepper flakes, that will add a really nice warming flavour to the meatballs.
And with the chilies, is that something relatively easy to get? Do you go to like a specialist place for that, or is that a supermarket job if you go to the right one?
Some supermarkets do now stock Aleppo chili, but
awesome.
Like the smaller shops do sell it as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's make some meatballs.
Okay, so half a teaspoon of each of the 3 spices. So you've already put a little bit of ground cumin, so just put a little bit more. And then sumac, again, quite easy to get in most supermarkets these days. It's a nice sort of citrusy Middle Eastern flavour.
It's one of these ones that I think these kind of Middle Eastern spices do blend in really nicely with Mediterranean style dishes.
Yes.
We see this a bit in like Greek cuisine as well, where they're really food friendly and really exciting, but you get this kind of different spice palette almost coming through with it.
Absolutely, really warming spice. It's not, I think people think of spice and they think of hot chili, but Middle Eastern spices is more warming flavours. Really nice.
It's one of those ones as well that from my perspective, obviously thinking wine first, spice is a difficult thing because when your dish is super, super spicy, it can make alcoholic wine seem more alcoholic. So if it's too spicy a dish, you actually have to consider that with your pairings with these nice kind of just gentle warming spices.
Easier.
A lot easier to pair with, yeah.
Okay, so then just mix that all together with your hands. And then the next stage is to form small meatballs.
And so what you're going for about a golf ball sized meatball here?
Yes, yep, golf ball. And I think people say, oh, do you need to put egg in to bind it? But I never do, and it always binds nicely. So, I mean, this is a good portion for 2 people. Or if you have a small child, then 3.
Awesome, so we've got our meatballs. What's next?
Yeah, so the next step is to cook them. So pop them in a pan of hot oil, and you want to have an even browning over the outside, and just keep turning them as you're cooking them, just to make sure you've got...
I think it's also worth mentioning, this is the very first time we've actually cooked in a wine shop on both parts here. So yeah, there's that comfort and knowledge of cooking in your own kitchen, isn't there?
It's all a learning experience.
Exactly.
I love the smell of lamb when it's cooking.
And so the idea here is you're pretty much going to cook them all the way through, but then we're going to, at the end, pop them in the sauce.
Pop them back in the sauce, yeah. And obviously you can use a thermometer to check the insides, check that they're cooked enough. But if they're not 100% cooked at this stage, then we put them back in the sauce and then they'll cook through.
Whenever I try and do my videos at home, this is always the bit where like a toddler will run in and start screaming. And you have to try and find a way to creatively cut out a screaming child. You know, the whole point of this is we're not doing this today saying we are professional chefs, we know what we're doing. We're not saying this we're professional at shooting videos either. We're just saying that we are people that like food, and this is the sort of thing
it's
that
an
we
idea.
would... Yeah. And so the fact that we did something and went, you know what, actually, if we were doing it again, we would do it this way, or I think that's all part of the...
It makes people think that actually I can do this because we're not It is all a learning experience.
Again, you know, the whole point of this is that we're wanting to share this with people and be like, you know, this isn't. It's not like one of those mad, complicated recipes where you need to go to like 9 specialist shops to get your ingredients.
Yeah.
We're people that like to cook, and here's a nice, fun recipe. It's really approachable. But yeah. So those have been cooking for about
8 to 10 minutes.
8 to 10 minutes now. Now that they're done, we're going to transfer them out and we're going to start making the sauce.
Yeah.
Cool. So now that our meatballs are done, we're going to move on to making our sauce. Tell us what we've got.
Okay, so it's going to be a normal tomato sauce, but with the added flavours of Middle Eastern. So we've got coriander seeds, cumin seeds, and I'm going to crush in the pestle and mortar a teaspoon of each of those. Then we've got onion, garlic, ginger, tomatoes, and I'm going to pop some allspice in the sauce as well, and then go from there.
Nice.
And this doesn't have to be chopped too finely because we're going to blitz the sauce in a food processor, so just can be as coarse as you like.
You can do it a bit rough and ready.
Yeah. And then you can slice it or finely dice it. Again,
it's going to go in the processor, so it doesn't really matter. I heard somewhere that the finer you dice it, the more intense the garlic flavors are.
Okay.
Apparently. So minced garlic is the most intense.
That makes sense. I'm crying now because of the onions. I think too many recipes say cook the onions for, you know, a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
But it needs that good amount of time to sweat down and caramelize.
Properly cooked onions is the best thing.
Yeah.
I think what I like about it is like ginger is not a flavour I would have associated with spaghetti and meatballs. I think this is really nice.
Not at all, but it adds a really lovely sort of flavour element to the dish. I never measure anything at home. I just chuck it in.
But I think there's something really nice about that, you know, when you can get to that kind of level of slightly instinctual cooking.
Yeah, I mean, I follow recipes all the time, but then once you've made something 2 or 3 times, then you can start adding your own sort of individual flavours to it and make it your own.
I know that I've got a couple of go-to recipes, and to be honest, I don't have the recipe available to me anymore. It's just it lives up here
it's
in
your
some
head,
format. Yeah. And every so often I'll be like, oh, do you know what? I should try this thing in it instead of that thing. And sometimes it's a bit better, sometimes it's not quite as good as the original, but it's been fun.
Yeah, it's like spag bowl. That's what I do with spag bowl.
Yeah.
You know, change the ragu up a little bit. So those two can go in together. What I'll do is I'll crush the spices. So about a teaspoon. I mean, you can do it with a teaspoon, but teaspoon of coriander seeds, and then about a teaspoon of cumin seeds. Cumin is everywhere in Middle Eastern food. It's, you know, it's like the staple. And the smell when you crush spices just all comes out. Of course, if you don't have a pestle and mortar at home, you know, you can put ground coriander and ground cumin.
Yeah.
It makes it more aromatic to use freshly ground.
The more we cook this recipe, the more I feel it's the sort of thing, you know, when you have people around to your house and as soon as they walk in, they're just hit with this amazing smell of food.
Yes.
Between the lamb and the onions and those spices there, I really feel that this is something that as soon as people walk into your house, they're going to be excited.
Absolutely. And that's half the drama of it when you have a dinner party or invite people over, the smells.
And then so again, you've got 3 tomatoes here, which I'm guessing you're just dicing up.
Yeah.
But we're going to blitz them, so...
Reasonably roughly, yeah.
So once you put the chopped tomatoes in, it's just going to kind of simmer away for...
Yes. So we don't want to cook this too much because the garlic in particular will go quite bitter if it's cooked too much on a high heat. So the next stage is to, once these become really aromatic, then add the tinned tomatoes. I put a lamb stock cube because it's a lamb sauce and it adds a really nice flavour. A little bit of sugar, bit of a contentious issue when it comes to pasta sauce. People say that if you use really good tomatoes, you don't need sugar. But I always do. I always do, just a little bit.
I mean, I think the important thing here is there are so many kind of like, you can buy a tomatoey pasta sauce and it's boring and bland. This is going to be the exact opposite end of the scale, and if the way to do that is sugar and lamb stock cubes, then I'm all for it.
This has cooked down on a low temperature for a little while, just simmering. So I'm going to add some herbs, not all of these. So I've got, you can choose any mixture of herbs. I think dill is quite a nice one in Middle Eastern food. I love mint, coriander and parsley in mine. So I'm just going to chop up a handful of each, and then that will go in the sauce at the last minute.
Awesome.
If you like your pasta sauce really rustic, you could keep it as it is.
Yeah.
I like to blend it so it's a really nice smooth tomato sauce, so that's the next step.
That's the next step after it's cooked down a wee bit.
Yeah. So I'm going to add the herbs. Those in, and then blend.
So whilst the pasta and sauces are just cooking down a wee bit, we're going to talk about some wine. The really lovely thing here is that this dish is wildly food friendly because we've got lots of acidity coming through from all the tomatoes. That's going to make any wine appear a little bit softer and fruitier. Because we've got some nice kind of salt coming from the feta we're going to add at the end and the lamb itself. Again, that's going to make anything seem softer. So I've actually picked out a couple of different options to show what we can do. Unsurprisingly, Italian reds are a really good port of call here. So we've got 2 of those, which we're going to try one of in a second. I've also, again, because you've gone for kind of this Middle Eastern twist, this is a really exciting opportunity for us to show a Lebanese red that we have, the Desir.
Yeah.
I think you've had this before.
Yes.
It's a very soft, easy drinking blend. It's got Cab Sav and Syrah and a bit of Tempranillo.
Delicious.
And it's just very easy and all-rounder. I've thrown a bit of a curveball in here as well by introducing a white wine. Again, because we've got such high acidity, we can go for a nice refreshing white wine here. This is a Pinot Gris from New Zealand, and it's got a lot of weight and roundness to it. But what's really cool is it's actually got a little bit of residual sugar, and so that'll actually kind of soften the spices.
Okay.
So when we've got loads of spices, things like that will soften it a bit, where slightly bigger, punchier reds, like which we're going to try here, will actually kind of lean into that heat.
Perfect.
The red here is a Nero d'Avola, and this is a fairly indigenous grape variety to Sicily. This one's gone through a bit of oak, so it's quite a substantial red. Both the reds are big, hearty, southern Italian. And what's nice about that is, because it's a hot climate, it's very rich and juicy flavors that we're going to get from the wine. So again, when you've got all those nice exotic herbs and spices, there's going to be a refreshing fruit character in there to balance it. The one we're going to try is a new one from us by Carmenucci, and it's a Rosso Superiore. So it's a blend of Montepulciano and Sangiovese.
Nice.
Really big, really, really hearty, and it was something that we actually tried very recently at a tasting, and we basically moved wines around on the shelf to bring this one in because I thought it'd be just lovely. But as I said, because we're in southern Italy, it's really big, really hearty, lots of oak, big black fruit, so it's just a nice, big, intense red.
Oh. Oh, so smooth.
It's smooth, but it's like big and blackcurranty. It's almost a little bit chocolatey sometimes. And whilst it's kind of quite a big hearty red, as I said, as soon as we get some nice saltiness in there, it's just going to become really soft and really fruity inside.
Okay, so the next stage, totally up to you. If you want your pasta sauce to be nice and rustic, you can leave it as is. I like my pasta sauce to be smooth, so I'm going to blend it to make a nice smooth consistency. Ideally when it's cooled down a little bit more than this.
We're too keen.
Okay, so blitz that down. So now plating up.
Lovely.
So I'll just pop the sauce back in the pan and then add the meatballs and then just cook that for a few minutes.
And you were saying something quite interesting there, that then the theory is that you're gonna add the pasta to the sauce because you shouldn't do it the other way around?
Apparently, I don't know, the purists will have words with me, but apparently you always add the pasta to the sauce and a little bit of the pasta water as well, so it helps to get the right consistency and never drain pasta. I don't know.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I need to put the pasta on. I'm not very good at that.
You know what, I was just the way to ask about advice for plating.
You see people do it. I mean, if I plate it at home, I'll bung it on, then I'll try and make it look pretty afterwards.
Yeah.
You see people doing this whole, they put it on and then twist as they put it on. I've tried doing it so many times and I can never get it. I'll try it.
All the points here are on flavour, so just serve it however we're going to serve it, sort of thing.
Okay, so pasta on the plate. Okay, then garnish however you'd like to garnish, maybe some chili flakes if you like a bit of heat. I've just got some chopped herbs, and for me it has to have feta cheese, so just sprinkle some feta cheese on top. And that's it. Middle Eastern spaghetti and meatballs.
Lovely.
So let's have a try. Okay, this is going to be messy. Got those warming Middle Eastern spices.
Here's one of these meatballs we try as well.
Yeah, I haven't had meat.
It's just so much more exciting and aromatic than a classic spag bowl. Yeah, I think that's awesome.
Just takes it to the next level.
Brilliant. Well done.
Thank you.
Cheers. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed our cooking video. If you'd like to see more, please follow and subscribe. Thanks.
Thank you.